Welcome to our Ask Me Anything Pittsburgh Real Estate Edition with Jay Villella. Jay, thanks for joining me today.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're watching this recorded, this is going to be filtered in through our community and Jay will be tagged. So if you didn't join us and if you have questions, you can leave them below and he will be sure to get back to you. Also, I think we need to talk about how we met and who you are before people start asking you questions. Now, I don't remember exactly how we met, but I know I've known you for almost 2 years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. Somewhere around
Yeah,
there?
that sounds about right.
Okay.
A colleague of mine informed me about your startup Selling Later, and I was very interested in it, so I reached out to you. I'm pretty sure.
Right. And you were one of the nicer agents that understood. I got some neat emails at first. One of the nicer agents that understood this isn't about taking away a selling service. It's a matter of giving back control to consumers to understand how things work, where your money goes, how do you save money, and how do you find a good person to help you, which is one of the questions we're going to get into later. And I can't wait to see how you answer it because it's probably a little political. Okay, so first of all, other than you are a classically trained musician, how long have you been in real estate and how did you get into it?
Almost 8 years, and I got into it randomly. At the time I had graduated from school, and I was playing music and teaching music, but I wasn't making very much money. So I was ripe for, a lot of people in that position get sucked into like MLMs and that type of stuff. So I was on Craigslist looking for part-time work, and I saw this ad. It was like a free personality test. So I took this test, and it turned out to be a recruitment tool for a company called Northwood Realty, which does not exist anymore. They said, we'll train you for free. We'll give you all your materials to get started if you agree to work for us for 1 year. And I figured, all right, why not? If I don't like this job, then I'll just quit. And I knew nothing. I was 25 years old. I'd never bought a house or anything. And I just needed more money. And I figured these people are offering to train me for free. So why not?
Right.
That's the whole truth.
Right. What happened to Northwood? Did they get bought out?
No, they actually bought the company that used to be called Prudential Preferred Realty. And then they merged, and Northwood lost their name and took Berkshire Hathaway because they felt that was a more recognizable, larger brand.
Oh, okay.
So technically Northwood was doing fine and actually bought the other company, but then they took their branding because they liked it better. So
Gotcha. But it's one thing you will learn, it doesn't really matter who you work for. It's about the agent. So it's not necessarily where or who they work for, their brokerage. Doesn't always make or break the agent. All right. So first question that we got was, is the Pittsburgh market going to cool down? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if you had to give your opinion, it would be what?
Okay. This is the question. I think about this every day. So we need context. When we're talking about a market being hot, what do we mean? Do we mean just that there's a lot of buying and selling happening? Do we mean that prices are going up? Because one of those things is true, which is that prices are going up, but that doesn't necessarily mean the market is hot, because actually the number of sales is declining and has been declining every year since 2015. So every year there are fewer and fewer sales of actual homes since 2015, like I said, in the Pittsburgh area. We need to understand, so what's causing the prices to go up if fewer homes are selling? It's a supply crunch. There just aren't enough homes for people, and people have more ability to buy. So there's more money chasing fewer goods, and that's the recipe for inflating prices. For context, in 2011, which around here was kind of the low point of the recession here. I know technically the recession was over in 2009, but I'm talking about lived experience of normal people, not just like hedge fund bankers. So the bottom of the recession was around 2011, and there were almost 12,000 homes available in Allegheny County. Right now, today, there are 2,200. I just looked that up this morning.
Wow.
So yeah, 1/6 roughly. Now, in 2011, you could do whatever, as a buyer, you could just waltz around, make whatever offers you wanted. There were tons of homes. They would sit for months or years. It was a totally different situation than today, where any reasonably priced home seems to sell instantly with multiple offers. Are we going to go back to a 2011 scenario soon? I really doubt it. However, we're already seeing signs that the market is slowing down. Inventory has not recovered very much, but it's fall. And so this time of year is typically the lowest inventory anyway. So many agents, including myself, are hoping that we're going to have more inventory soon, and that should make things less crazy. I don't know about prices going down a lot, but maybe they might flatten. They might go down a little bit, but if anybody out there is waiting for prices to crash 35%, I really doubt it.
Right, right. All right, question number 2, and I'm excited to hear this answer. What percentage of agents in Pittsburgh are actually good at their job? And not good at their job like they make a ton of money, but good at their job in servicing their clients?
All right. This is a controversial question, so if you talk to anybody in any profession, a lot of people will say bad things about their colleagues in that profession, right?
Right.
Pretty much anybody, contractors, even doctors, attorneys, anybody will be like, oh, a lot of my colleagues don't know what they're doing. And I would say that's generally true in real estate as well. But I wanted to base my opinions on data and facts rather than just my personal
Right.
experience.
Which is why we like you, because you are a data and facts person.
Thanks. So my information is coming from the West Penn Multi-List, which is sort of the organization that controls a lot of home sales in the area, and also from the National Association of Realtors report. They call it, one sec, let me just make sure. They call it the member profile, and it's basically demographic and statistical information about realtors. So we'll put it this way. Your question was like, what percent do a good job or like are competent, really
Right.
competent? I would say between 15 and 20% of full-time agents and maybe 5% of
Oh my
part-time
gosh.
agents.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So like when I first started this, you just assume that numbers of years. Two things I remember is like Jessie Tate, when she was really involved with home inspections, she said there were agents that specifically wouldn't use her because she's a deal killer, because she is too thorough in her inspections. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I just, it's things like that. And I already forgot my number 2, what I was going to tell you, but that was like one important one right there. And then, oh, I know what it was. It was that if you have a really awful agent that nobody wants to work with, and they're submitting an offer for you, not that it can mess up your offer, but like you're going in with a not so great reputation if that person's representing you. If the listing agent doesn't like working with you, hasn't heard good things, says you're not organized, like it, not that it would ruin it for you, but it can like deter with a bad impression. Those are the 2 that I was surprised about.
That's unfortunately possible, yes. I'm, sticking to what I said between 15 and 20%. That's so every year, a large percentage of agents are new, so brand new. Right now, 26% of all real estate agents have less than 2 years of experience. So really 2 years is not long enough to have developed a lot of expertise, maybe some. And if someone is really well trained with less than 2 years of experience, then they can probably do a fine job. The biggest problem is real estate brokerages are huge about recruiting new people, but they're not huge about training those people adequately. So that creates a crisis where you have large numbers of new people who don't know what they're doing and have no support, and they're just kind of unleashed on the public.
Right.
And unfortunately, the public has no tools to really discriminate between agents. They all look the same. They all have the same license. They work at the same companies. So, what ends up happening is the agents who are the most successful in terms of number of sales are typically people who are highly skilled at generating new business. You know, they're the people you see mailing you postcards and buying billboards and all that stuff. So
That's like the one agent in, I'm not going to use her name, but she buys the $8,000 a month billboard. And I'm like, oh, I don't, you
yeah,
know, you have to advertise, but it's like, it's $8,000 just to get your face out there. I'm being judgmental. I shouldn't go that deep. Okay, let's
I
go
don't
to
have
the
any billboards.
I know, I know, I know. You already know my opinion. We've talked about this. Okay, where do you see real estate agents in 10 years?
So right now there are almost 2 million real estate agents. There are 1.48 million realtors, which are different. It's a different thing. It's like kind of basically brand name real estate agent. We'll just put it that way. What I think would be an ideal scenario is for there to be far fewer, maybe between a third and 50% of that number. And I would like to see those people, their general competence rise a lot. And I would like to see them use technology to make it, to enable them to serve more customers at a lower cost per customer, basically, which is how every other business is. That's what I would like to see happen.
The one thing I found interesting is there's some lawsuits between Rex and Zillow and NAR and now the Department of Justice investigation. And there was conversation about commissions, right? And how much have they gone down? And do you know of a study that compares traditional real estate agent commissions? Because all these studies include the Redfins, they include the 1% listing brokerages. So does that affect why commissions have gone down? Like if you were to just look at Coldwell Banker or like a Remax, would their commissions show that much of an adjustment over the past like 10 years? Or do you think it would stay mostly the same? And this was not a question I prepped you for, so I apologize, but it's just what came up.
Yeah. So a lot of that information is probably proprietary. Like, I'm not sure that you'd be able to get that out of the different private companies. I'm not sure if they would tell you. I can't remember what I was reading yesterday. I think it was an article by the general counsel for Rex.
Right. Oh, Michael Toth. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I read it. He published an article yesterday showing that commission levels were declining. I'm trying to remember. Oh, like, no. It was a data scientist for Rex. That's who did,
Right,
that was the
right.
article. Did you see that too?
I did. That's what made me think of it. And I actually asked him, like, was this study separated based on like what the brokerage charges? Like versus, I hate to say discount agent because I feel like that's not, I don't like that name, but I don't know if it was something like that.
I think, well, so based on NAR's own data that I just looked at this morning, commission, so total realtor income declined in 2020 from 2019. And that could be because of a huge influx of people plus fewer sales, like I've been talking about. Now, I don't know exactly what all these companies are charging. I really don't. I wish I did. I do think that there's downward pressure on commissions, and there has been. There's, people always make value judgments about it. They're like, there's not as much downward pressure as there should be because they're looking at other developed countries like, in Europe, basically, or Australia, which have much lower levels of commissions in general. But we have a very different legal system and a different economic system here with regard to real estate, which could help explain why commission levels are still high. But I think they are generally sitting around 5%, seems like, total.
Okay.
But I think they dipped below 5% recently, at least according to that article.
Right. It was like 4.9 or 4.8. I don't remember. Which
Right.
leads me to my next question. I don't know how you're going to answer this. Why do agents get paid the same whether they show you 2 homes or 20 homes?
Right. So that's very much related to the previous question. The commission-only sales model evolved over a very long time period. And I say evolved because I think no one today, if they were thinking, what's the best way to sell real estate? I don't think that they would come up with our current system just planning it out ahead of time. It's something that sort of happens slowly. And yeah, basically it's like an all you can eat buffet, right? You hire an agent and you don't pay them anything. And then you can make them do whatever, like basically as much as they're willing to tolerate. And then if whatever you buy, then they get a commission on that. They don't know what that's going to be. They don't know when you're going to buy. They don't know if you're going to buy. So it's just kind of it's a free for all in that sense. It's akin to an attorney that works on a contingency fee, where like let's say a lot of people who are involved in personal injury lawsuits, for instance, they don't have enough money basically to pay $300 an hour to an attorney to work on their case. So they tell the attorney, hey, if you help me and we win, then you can have 50% of my settlement, which would be like a normal contingency fee. So realtors operate the same way. Like, you don't have to pay me anything per hour. You don't have to pay me any fees up front, but I'm going to be entitled to X% of the house price that you buy. Is this the best system? Probably not. No.
Right.
So,
right.
I think we have a mutual acquaintance, Rob Hahn, brilliant guy who has a lot to say on this topic. And if anyone's curious about these topics, just Google his blog. It's like Notorious ROB or something like that.
He's fascinating. I did a podcast
yeah.
with him, and like in the middle of it, he just takes out his vape pen and just keeps talking. I'm like, okay, I guess this is casual today.
He's really, really smart and really educated and has a lot of good things to say on this topic. But just because that's the way things are doesn't mean they have to be that way. I mean, we could have a model where if you want to look at homes, you could pay your agent like $50 an hour or something like that. And then they could give you all the commission if there's a commission. There's more than one way to do it. And I feel like as time goes on, more people will be more likely to adopt different ways of doing things.
Right. And speaking of, one way to do it is a buyer's rebate. So explain what that is, because it's only available within 40 or 41 states. I know Oregon's going through some litigation to try to make it possible, but so go ahead. Buyer's rebate, what is it?
So let me give you a scenario just to make this more into a narrative. Like, let's say you found a home on Zillow and you just really like it. So then you call up an agent and you're like, hey, can you show me this home? So you show up at the home, you just love it. It's actually perfect. And you have that agent make an offer on your behalf to someone you barely know. And you get the house. And then they made $12,000 to do that. And that might strike you as like ridiculous, right?
Because it is.
I would agree in that situation. So you might consider in that situation saying, hey, can you rebate some of the commission since this for you was so easy and such a one-off? Now that's going to make a lot of people angry, unfortunately, because of the way the industry's set up, agents end up wasting a tremendous amount of their time. And so in compensation for that, they believe that their high fees that they sometimes get in very lucky situations like that, they feel that those are justified as like compensation for all the time being wasted by other customers. But that's clearly not fair to you. You have nothing to do with that.
Right. Like why am I not being rewarded because I was easy, right? Like why am I paying the same when it did one thing for me? Which I want to say really quick. Do not contact agents via the contact agent button on Zillow. Please don't do it. Because if you are looking to find a rebate, the Zillows, the Dave Ramsey's, the sold.coms, they all connect you with an agent, and then they take 25% or more, sometimes more, of whatever your agent makes, goes back to them. And so that could be $2,000, it could be $3,000. But the point is, if they have to pay that to Dave Ramsey or Zillow, whoever, even realtor.com does it now, there's nothing left for you to negotiate. So stop using those buttons. I had notes in there, like, make sure you say that. So, okay, so how do you ask for a rebate? Because it's uncomfortable. Like, not everybody likes, I'm sure no one likes to talk about their budget, how much they make. And so to go into, can you give me a rebate, is uncomfortable. So what's the best way to bring that up? Obviously in the beginning.
Great question. So I'm very influenced by win-win style of negotiation. So when you're asking someone to give you money, you're asking them something. So you have to offer something in exchange, I would say. And realtors want certain things that make their lives a lot better. Like, you could say, how about this? I anticipate looking at 12 houses, and I'm not going to make you show me houses on the same day that they come out at 8 p.m. Like, let's schedule ahead of time. Or, I'm highly qualified. I'm already pre-approved. I already know where I want to go. I know what houses I want to look at. If you can offer, like, I'm ready to go, I know what I want, I know what to do, AKA you're going to have to work less. Then in exchange for that, why don't you give me, kick me some money back from the commission, since you're going to be working less for me. And the work that you do for me is going to be easier, or like more organized. So that's how I would approach it. If you have everything together and you're an excellent buyer client, then the realtor can definitely work for less money for you because they're doing less work.
Right. Exactly.
That's how I'd approach it.
Right. And I think the reason I wanted to start doing these AMAs and start with you first was that you're one of the only agents in Pittsburgh I know that like proactively talks about rebates and proactively sets up systems with your clients to earn it based on how much work or how much little work that you end up having to do. But I know like you can't really advertise that, which is a whole other conversation of why you can't like promote it to the world or spend $8,000 on a billboard in Wexford to talk about how you give rebates, which you couldn't do if you had to pay $8,000 a month. You probably can't rebate.
Right.
So, but I that's why I wanted to start with you, because I feel like there's no real way for you to search for rebates unless you go through one of those best agent platforms, which again, even if they offer you a rebate, they still make the agent pay even more. So you get a rebate, but that company gets a referral fee. And then you have to wonder, well, who am I working with that's going to be giving up like end up 50% of what they're making and then splitting it with their brokerage. So they walk away with maybe 25% of the commission. Is it usually going to be a newer agent, someone that doesn't have a lot of clients, where in your aspect, you're 8 years into it and proactively offer it. And I think that's wonderful.
Well, I just want to comment on that really quickly, just for people who maybe are not following along with all the jargon.
I know it's hard.
Basically, if you're shopping for a home and you're online, and you may have heard of programs like Homes for Heroes or Dave Ramsey's Preferred Real Estate Agents or whatever it's called.
Right. I know. I need to stop talking about him because he's gonna send me like a cease and desist or something. I need to stop. I really need to stop. Well, go ahead.
Well, those are just examples, and I'm not talking about any specifics here, but what happens is they'll connect you to an agent, basically. And what they're doing is they're taking your contact information and they're selling it to an agent for a percentage of whatever future commission they earn. And that percentage can be very high. It could be 40% or more. And so what happens is when you get connected with that agent, they're getting paid 40% less to work with you. And then those companies will in turn, I don't think Dave Ramsey's company does this, but Homes for Heroes specifically will give you like $300 or something. And they advertise it.
The man of savings does not give any money back. So he's a no.
But what I'm saying is, if you go through these systems, you're becoming a lead that's being sold to someone for a very high price, and then you're getting back almost nothing. And it's really not the case that you're going to be connected to the greatest professionals. Like it's really a pay to play system in most cases. So yeah, with my rebate program, and I'm not going to talk specifics, but you would get back a lot more than that, and it would cost me less. So again, win-win.
Right. And it's based on how much work you have to do or don't have to do. And that's fair. I think that's the best way to look at it. Are there any situations where it's not fair to ask for a rebate?
Probably as an afterthought, in month, 18 of your home search, after they've written 14 offers for you and showing you 100 happy. Yeah. Right. I would say it's not fair at that point.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And to be clear, like this should be discussed in the very, very beginning. Like you have to even get it in writing, correct? Does it? It should be.
It must be in writing.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So now this applies to Pennsylvania specifically. I don't know about other states, but in Pennsylvania, you have to have a written agreement with your buyer agent or seller agent for them to be compensated. Now, that's very specific what I said, for them to be compensated. So if you call Zillow, which I know you said don't do that, but let's say you did that and you go look at a house, that doesn't mean that you owe them money necessarily. What I mean is, in order for them to sell you that house and get paid, you have to sign something with them specifying exactly how and why. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Here's a good one. What is the biggest mistake that you see first-time home buyers make?
Okay. There's a bunch of them. Biggest one, honestly, is not anticipating the closing costs, which are substantial in Allegheny County for sure.
Right. Right.
Um,
So, what percentage would you say is?
right. Around 5%, and it
Wow.
could be higher. So the city is even higher than that, I would say, because the city has the highest transfer tax in the country. So that's a nasty surprise for a lot of people.
I didn't know that. Oh,
Um,
geez. Okay.
Yeah, and then so the state of Pennsylvania has a 1% transfer tax, and then most municipalities also have a 1% transfer tax, so 2 total. But the city of Pittsburgh is 5 total. Yeah.
Wow.
And there's all kinds of title fees, and obviously like inspections cost money, and appraisals cost money, and credit reports cost money. And whenever you close on a home, you'll see a huge itemized list of stuff. So I would say if you have 5% ready to go for the closing costs, you should be fine. That should be okay.
Okay. Is that in addition to like what you're offering to put down and not finance? Like if I'm
Yeah.
putting down 3% of the home, should
Yeah.
I be saving 8%?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yep.
Okay. Oh, I can see them. Oh, they found me. My daughter and her friends found me. Of course they did. Okay. What about credit? Are there any surprises with credit score? Because what I was reading that most people do not contact a lender until about 3 months before they're like actually ready to jump in. But if they had known that increasing your credit score by like 50 points could drastically change your interest rate. I was looking at it the other day, and I have this mortgage calculator that's going to be on the platform where you can compare. And it was like a difference of 1% was like $60,000 in savings just in interest alone. And so like that, I think people don't think about it soon enough. I mean, you don't necessarily talk to a lender a year out, but like that's something you should be paying attention to and working towards. What about big
Yeah.
purchases? Don't make big purchases, right?
Well, just to talk about credit scores. Earlier this year, I studied and completed a mortgage license, so I learned about all of this stuff. And
How
I
many
have
licenses do you have by now again?
just 2.
What happened to the
Yeah.
home inspector one? Aren't you getting that one too?
I'm working on it. I'm not done. There's
Okay.
a bunch of coursework for that. But,
Okay.
and it's not a license, it's just an affiliation.
Oh, right.
In Pennsylvania, we don't have those licenses anyway.
All right.
So for mortgages, yeah, credit score is really important. And I don't remember the specific, there are like different buckets of credit scores where
Right.
it's
Fair, good, very good, and excellent, or something like that.
right. Now, your credit score on creditkarma.com or whatever might be different from the credit score that you get back from your mortgage lender. But basically, it matters a lot if you're hovering in the mid 600s to the mid 700s. That's where it makes the most difference to up your score. If you're above 720, it's not really going to help you a lot to be at like 800 or something.
Right.
But if you're below 700, you're like 680. If you can bump it to 700, then you'll get better deals. Yeah,
Right.
most likely.
Okay.
What was the second part you asked me though?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember. What were we talking about? We talked about credit. Oh, big purchases.
Oh yeah,
Making
don't do
mistakes
that.
by buying something big after you submit an offer. Don't change your job. Don't buy anything. Don't close anything.
So when you fill out that application for a mortgage, that information needs to be accurate and it's not supposed to change. So don't change your total debt amount. Now, does that mean you can't buy anything on a credit card? No. But don't do anything that's beyond your normal spending habits. Like, don't buy a car, basically.
Don't buy a fridge.
Yeah, don't finance furniture. Like, don't do that. Like, wait until closing.
Right.
Once you close, then do whatever you feel is right. But like,
Right. Don't change your job. Don't close out
Definitely
any. Don't close out any credit cards. Correct. Leave them. Just leave it. Let it go. Just
yeah,
pay
whatever
on time, but let it go.
whatever you put on the application, keep that, stay there, and then whatever after closing, you can do anything you want. But
Right. Okay. Next one. Oh, we did talk about closing costs, so we got that one covered. Down payment. Okay, from a seller's perspective, when is the best time to sell? Which might be a little bit different in a market like this, but in a general idea, say things go somewhat back to normal next year. If they do, when is like the optimal time to sell?
if you look at sale prices, if you look at a graph of sale prices historically, they look like this. It's a wave, right? So the top of the wave is in the spring, typically, like around May. So
Okay.
that means that's when the closing happens in May. So that means you're talking April, March for listing your home, maybe late February. That would be associated with the highest prices.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, worst time to close on the home is actually right around the holidays. So between Christmas and New Year's, which would mean listing in November.
Okay.
Not telling anyone here not to list their house. I'm
So
just
like
saying.
right now, gotcha. Okay, what should I be doing to add value to my home? I have one thing because I've been, I'm working on these monthly saving plans that are coming out next week for members that give them like one tool every month to work on to save money. And the one is get rid of your stuff. The average home has 300,000 items in it. And if you're moving 300,000 items, I mean, I could like, my kids have just junk, we just purged a bunch of stuff yesterday. It was my birthday gift to my husband because he doesn't like clutter. So I was like, we threw stuff away. Happy birthday. Yeah. So what I was noticing is to look at the calculations of if you were to just get rid of or donate or trade with someone one piece of furniture and like 5 boxes of stuff, like you could save like hundreds of dollars, whether, if you're paying someone to move you, if you're moving long distance, you're paying to move all that stuff, have somebody pack it up and have it just be put in your basement again. Right. And like decluttering too, that's a big one that I think you don't plan for. Like you have to, but then it's like the week before you're going to get photos taken and you're like just hiding stuff instead of like, just get rid of it and depersonalize, declutter. But those are mine just from my studies. What are your top things that they should be doing?
Those are my top things. The only thing I would add to that, fix obvious problems if you can. Okay.
Right.
Like everyone in their homes, including me, all right, everyone, we all kind of get used to things that are broken, a little bit broken, and we know how to make them work. Like, oh, that faucet doesn't work. You have to like do this, fix that kind of stuff. Because when buyers are walking through your home, they don't look at it the way that you do. They see the window doesn't open. It's broken. It's broken.
Right.
So if you can fix stuff like that, it'll go a long way toward helping the value for sure.
Right. And even like the dings and the chips and the paint, everybody loves like HGTV homes, but none of us, especially if you have kids, live in an HGTV home. I mean, I don't, my kids ruin everything.
Neither.
So yeah. So, be aware of what your home looks like. And, the one thing I also wanted to ask, I think this was the last one, was a pre-listing inspection if you sell your home. Yay, nay, good, bad, your thoughts?
Okay. I'm a huge proponent of that. I think it's a great idea. So I wanted to mention 3 reasons. So the first reason is it gives you a head start on fixing any problems like I was talking about. A home inspector's jobs are to just find everything like that.
Right.
Now, so it gives you a head start on fixing some things. The second thing is there in Pennsylvania, we have a seller's disclosure law, and it's like that everywhere. I think they have some similar law where you have to basically say what you know about the home, what's wrong with it. Okay. Well, you may have a kind of fuzzy idea about what's wrong with your home. You may not understand all the components of your home. I mean, no one does. I don't,
Right. Right.
So when you get a pre-inspection, they give you a very clear picture of everything. And what that does is enable you to make a full disclosure, a very accurate and thorough and recent disclosure of all the systems of the home, which basically protects you from liability.
Right.
And
Which means if the buyer closes on the home and sees the roof is leaking, they could try to come after you. Like, you knew this, you sold me the home and you didn't tell me. So that's like the liability, correct?
right. But if you have an inspection report and a disclosure statement,
Right.
both saying that you knew that the roof was leaking sometimes,
Right.
then they can't do that. Like
Right.
you
Right.
told them.
Right. Right.
So basically, with disclosure, the more stuff you say, just be honest, tell everything you know. Like, yeah, just say it all. And getting a pre-inspection enables you and educates you about that. So yeah,
Right.
I'm a
And
huge, I'm a
be
fan.
honest, as a representing a buyer, are inspection issues like the best way for you to negotiate on price? To a degree, like after you put in your offer and you get a home inspection, you know what I mean? Like, those can be used to lower the price of your home, and it could be exaggerated, right? Like, it could be like, we want
Correct.
$2,000 to replace this, but like, if you had looked at your pre-listing inspection and saw what the problem was and knew it only cost $500 as a seller, you could say, hey, like, I know that doesn't cost $2,000. I'll give you 500. And maybe that comes more into play if you're selling on your own, and if you have an agent, they should advise you that. But a home inspection is used against you, rightfully so. Like, you don't want to pay for the price of a home if there's things wrong with it, but it can
Right.
be used to like really negotiate. So it's almost like a preparation tool as a seller,
Absolutely.
to prepare yourself.
That's an excellent point. I would just add one thing to be careful of. If you're a seller and you do get a pre-inspection and you put that in with your package of materials that you're giving to all the buyers, make sure you tell them to get their own inspection as well.
Right.
Don't drop any hint like, oh, you don't need to do an inspect. No, never
Right,
say
right,
that. Let them
right.
do their own thing, and you have your data and they have their data, but just don't make it seem like you're encouraging them not to do their own inspection. That's all.
Right, right. And in all fairness, we talked about real estate agents and what percentage are great. Not all home inspectors are fantastic either. Like, if I could copy and clone Jessie Tate and put her all over Pittsburgh, it'd be like the best place in the world. Unfortunately, we can't do that. And so you also have to pay attention to like who you're using and are they thorough enough, which is why you should get your own just in case, because you have no
Can I
idea.
speak about that really quick?
Yes, you can. You go ahead.
Anyone can call themselves a home inspector in Pennsylvania, unfortunately. Like,
I
I could
thought we
just do
needed
that
a
tomorrow.
license. We don't need a license in PA? Oh,
No.
man.
So how do you figure out who's a legit home inspector? Well, there's a couple ways. There are two main organizations of home inspectors that do issue credentials basically to them on a national scale. There's
Right.
NACHI and ASHI.
Right.
So typically, if someone has earned that credential, they've at least demonstrated on a test basis that they, like a written test, that they know something about it. So the other good source is, of course, online reviews. I always recommend Google. I think their review system is very fair. Yelp has problems, obviously, but that's a good.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I did
Yeah.
a pitch presentation, and I called it Dishonest Angie, because Angie's List, the Consumer Federation of America, posted a report in 2019 showing like there's somewhat bias in reviews, right? And depending on how much that lead or that service pays, like, can fluctuate like their rates and their approved rating, which bumps them up on the list, but it's not necessarily based on reviews, right?
I think a lot of people all across the service sector have problems with Angie's List. I feel like their golden age was in the past, and they changed the way they did things that made a lot of people unhappy and were not fair to consumers, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't want them to sue me, so I'm not.
Right. Well, look at me. I'm calling it Dishonesty, Angie. Dave Ramsey and Angie are just going to team up against me and come after me.
I hope not, but yeah, online reviews though, and also, reaching out to your family and friends, asking them if they had good experiences, or neighbors on your street that have sold homes recently.
Right.
They can kind of give you their opinions on home inspectors too.
Right. And one thing I want to mention is, again, there's good, I phrased it, there's great agents, there's agents, and then there's some agents that are this. And so like if you have one of these agents, but you don't know it, and they refer you to a home inspector, and there may be one of the agents that Jesse talked about where like they won't use her because she's too thorough. So, I mean, not that you don't want to trust your agent, but you should be able to investigate and check reviews to make sure you have the right person, right?
Definitely. And see, that's
here she comes. What? Yeah, go ahead. I'm almost done. This is just never ending. Never ever alone. I have to get her going to kindergarten soon, but
okay.
but I'm trying to think I think we covered all the questions. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about or touch upon that we might have missed?
No, I think that's probably good. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. For those of you that are reading this or following this in the community, if we skipped something or if it's choppy because I had to chop my daughter out of certain episodes because she keeps appearing, you can look in the comments. You can ask questions below. Jay will be following and he can answer questions for you.
Happy to do so.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much.